Hello, y'all. Welcome back to the Insurance Lounge with me, Tanya.
And me, Kristy.
We are your local insurance agent in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we are here to make insurance a little less boring and way more useful for you because our goal is to share with you what we know so that you can feel confident about your insurance, so that you can better protect your family, your home, your business, and of course, your financial future. So, with that said, Christy, what are we talking about this week?
Yeah, so today's hot topic, right? And a lot of people call in about this, whether it's at renewal time or even at the time of, they're buying their new home and getting their policy for the first time. What is my coverage limit? What does my coverage limit need to be? What does that even mean? Right? What do you mean by dwelling limit? What does that mean? So we want to dig in, demystify, kind of give people some best practices for determining what that needs to be and making sure that you've got enough coverage in your policy.
Absolutely. So, whether you're going to be a homeowner or you are a homeowner now, this is the episode for you. So, you do want to tune into this because at the end of the day, we'll show you some ways that you can make sure that you can go to sleep at night, that you have enough insurance to rebuild your home in case something happened. So, let's start with the basic, Christy. So, why does cost of construction matter?
Well, that just think about it. The cost of construction today is very, very different than it was even 5 years ago. And not to mention, 10, 20, 30 years ago, depending on how old your home is. So it directly impacts that coverage amount, that dwelling coverage amount, because if something happens to your home, be it a fire, tornado, whatever the case may be, and you've got a significant reconstruction effort going on, that's going to cost, something way different today than it did even a couple of years ago. So you always want to make sure that you've got enough of that coverage in your policy to help you if something, sort of catastrophic happens to your house.
Exactly. And there are many, many factors that affect the cost to rebuild, right? But if you
Right,
want to just keep this simple, it's really boiled down to a couple main things. So the cost of construction material.
right.
So the cost of your lumber, the cost of drywall, the cost of paint, right? And then, of course, labor, the cost of labor, the cost of, wages today is a lot higher than what it
Yep.
used to be, right? And
And
those,
and those are skilled trades, right? So, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And so that just really is like the general, basic understanding of the two things that really drive the cost of material. But of course, what caused material to go up, Chrissy? Supply chain issues, right? Maybe
Yep.
there was a big tornado loss in an area and now everybody has to rebuild. So then
Yeah.
material is not enough when the
Short
demand is
supply.
higher,
Mhm.
right? Things like that. Even um, even immigration policy can affect, labor
Right, right, because
shortages,
labor
right?
shortages. Yeah, absolutely. We hear a
Yeah.
lot about labor shortages lately. Everywhere. I mean, every fast food restaurant you go in doesn't have enough workers to
Yeah.
provide service, and it's not different, certainly probably amplified in these skilled trades that our general contractors are subbing in and using to fix your home.
Yeah. So with all these moving part, it really, really affect the cost to rebuild the home. It's not as stable as it used to be, right? And especially if there's a lot going on in our economy, if there's a lot of catastrophic events happening in our country, that's really is going to affect your cost to rebuild. And so where insurance comes into play, guys, 'cause we kept talking about like, make sure your policy is enough. So if you have your homeowner's policy in front of you now, if you pull it up, or if you look at any homeowner's policy for that matter, the very, very first line that you're going to see on there is the dwelling limits, right? Or in
Right.
our industry, we call it coverage A.
Coverage A.
Right. So that dwelling, guys, is really directly tied into the cost to rebuild. Because a lot of time these carriers, insurance carriers, are required to use a standardized approved tool that can help you estimate the cost to rebuild today. Now,
Right.
with advance in technology, they do the best they can, right? So based on how much
Sure.
things cost now, even down to like the cost of a nail, right?
Mm.
Or to the cost of a shovel, things like that. That's how insurance company is going to generate the minimum cost to rebuild your home. Now, Christy, but we
The
know
minimum,
the
right?
minimum.
The minimum. But we don't know what your home looks like, when we're doing that. We're doing the best that we can with square footage that you tell us and, type of roof, type of foundation, all that stuff goes into that tool. But we don't know inside if you have wood floors or ceramic tile or something even upgraded from there, some slate. You have Italian marble countertops, all that fun stuff that's beautiful and you love, but we don't necessarily know about it. So it's really
Exactly.
up to the policy holder to understand what's in their home and then make sure that that's going to get reflected in the cost to rebuild in their policy.
Exactly. So that leads us to, tip number one. We really want to encourage you to know the details of your home, like Christy mentioned. We haven't been to your home. We don't know, right? I'm not a builder, Christy. So if I look at
Me either.
like a marble countertop to me is a marble countertop. I don't know where it comes from. It could be very high end, it could be very mid grade. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you know, I don't know what the cost of a slate floor versus regular ceramic tile, yeah.
Exactly. And, even like when it comes to the grade of like what material you use for your roof, right, Christy? Like a metal
Sure.
roof is going to cost a little bit more, but it's going to last you a little bit
Last
longer,
longer. Sure.
right?
Yep.
So things like that. Do you have custom wood floor? Or do you have carpet throughout the house? We don't know. So you need to know the detail of your home, and it's going to help you tremendously, especially if you're taking out a new policy with a carrier, right? But it's got also this leads to point number two. If you know what your home look like, Christy, what do we encourage our customer to do? Once you know all your details of your home, then what?
When you get that policy, actually look through it. It's a really good practice to actually read that stuff and make sure that, that the details of your home are accurately reflected there. Your agent, I promise, is doing the best that they can with the information that they have, but there's so much going on when you're buying a new home and home buyers are stretched at that point and they, sometimes are like, yeah, I don't have time. Let's just get the policy, right? So once things settle down, get that policy and go through it and make sure that it does accurately reflect what your home looks like. And if it doesn't, give your agent a call and let's get it corrected. Sometimes those things will, maybe make a difference in the price and sometimes not even so much, but it still is good to have an accurate picture of what's in your home.
Yep. And if you haven't done this already in the past, well, guess what, guys? At every single renewal, the insurance carrier is required to mail you the details of your home.
Yep.
Um, so look through that, So if you haven't sat and talked to your agents for a while, and especially after you spend a ton of money renovating your home and beautify your home, well, your agent is not going to know that you added an extra bathroom or
Yep.
like what Christy mentioned, right? Like you got these beautiful marble imported from Italy somewhere. Your agent is not going to know that. And we get it. Like your agent is not going to be the first person that you call. Maybe your mom or your best friend, but not your
If it
agent.
was
And
me,
that's
I'd have a party
okay.
and show it off. But hey,
But that's okay, right? That's why insurance company is required to mail you or send you these documentation before they renew the policy. So make sure you look through that. If there's anything that's missing on there, the square footage listed isn't looking right, the year you replaced your roof wasn't looking right, it was not updated. That's the time that you talk to your agent and say, "Hey, let's correct these issues."
I'll give you a good example. I had a lady recently, and price went up as prices are doing these days. So really kind of it was a good impetus for her to let's look through this thing and make sure that everything's okay. The square footage was like 3,000 square feet off. Had been that way forever, since the inception of the policy, as far as I could tell,
Oh
but it
no.
wasn't correct, and I could look at the tax assessor's site and see that it wasn't correct. So I don't know how it happened initially. It was, long before I bought the book, but, um, I was able to correct it and save her some money. So there you go.
Absolutely. And
Ta-da.
now her
Easy
house is
peasy.
properly insured.
Her house is properly insured. Exactly.
Which is really is the most important things, guys. Like really when it comes down to insurance, whether it's auto or home, you are paying for it anyways. You want to make sure that it's going to work for you when or, when you have to use it. So, now that also bring us to, your dwelling coverage limits on your policy, right? At renewal, maybe it will stay the same, maybe it won't. So you really need to dig down and look at your coverage A amount. What is my policy limit? Because in the event that my home is a total loss and I have to rebuild everything from the foundation up, do I have enough coverage?
Yep.
So the one thing that we recommend our customers to look at is, look at the cost per square foot. Because I believe, Christy, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of builders out there, that's how they're pricing the cost for their services to build a home. So
Right.
if you take your dwelling amount and you divide it by your square footage, that should gives you the cost of how much you're insuring your home
Exactly.
now. So that's a good number to know, guys. Like, how much coverage do I have?
Right.
But here's
Price
the
per square
catch.
foot. Yeah, go
Yep.
ahead.
Here's the catch, right, Christy? Once we know how much we're insured for, how do our customers know if it's enough?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. So that you alluded to it, Tanya, that price per square foot, a builder should be able to tell you, is that gonna be enough to build your home, to rebuild your home? Is it, do you have like standard type of building materials? Are you a little bit upgraded? Or are you looking at luxury? And everybody's needs are gonna be different, right? And my needs at the time of a rebuild or an incident that's happened at my house 20 years from now might be very different than what they are today while I have a young family versus, now I'm an empty nester or as is happening a lot these days, right? Now I'm caring for aging parents and they're in my home. So, everybody's needs are going to be a little bit different. Your agent's not going to know what your plans are for your home, 10 years from now. That's why it's important to get it, for the homeowner to be the one who knows, is this the right coverage amount? And if you don't know a builder that you can talk to and kind of have that discussion with, then talk to your agent because we all know builders, right? And we can maybe refer you to somebody that you could talk to.
Exactly. And and it's of course it is very hard to gauge exactly, right, Christy? Like if we're looking down the road, but I would recommend that, every year when your policy comes up, you want to stay in the ballpark of how much it costs. So I'm not saying that you have to talk to a builder every year, right? But
No,
every
no.
now and
Yeah.
then, if you see a lot of new development coming up in your area, people are moving in, people are getting their tax reassessed in the neighborhood because you talk to your neighbors so or these realtor will tell you like, oh my gosh, the value of your home really gone up.
Hmm.
Talk to a builder. Yes, the value of my home is going up, but that's going to be very different than the cost to rebuild my home.
That's right.
So
That's one point I wanted to be sure to make.
yeah,
It's the cost, it's the material, the building cost, the rebuild cost, not the retail price. Those
yes.
are two very different things.
Very different things, guys. And in some area, the selling price is a lot higher than the cost to rebuild. And
Sure.
that's okay. That's good for you, the homeowner. But as far as insurance is concerned, you don't want to be paying extra for that, because the insurance carrier is only going to pay how much it costs at that time to rebuild your home. That has to
Right.
do with the cost of materials and the cost of labor, not how much your realtor can sell your home for. So, while we encourage that you don't want to be underinsured, we definitely advising you against being overinsured as well.
Overinsured, for sure.
Yeah. So talk to your local builder. I know everyone's home is different, right? But if you're staying in that ballpark, then you know that if something catastrophic was to happen today, we're in the ballpark. We're able to find a builder that's willing to work with you, and that we have the funds, right, the coverage to rebuild your home exactly to what you want it to be
Right.
today. So
You
I know
got it.
we gave out a lot of good information,
We covered a lot in
Christy.
a short time. You want to recap?
Absolutely. So let's just keep it uh, simple for our homeowners, right? So, number one, be aware of the reconstruction cost in your area, right? Like, what does that mean? What does reconstruction cost really mean? It has to do with cost of labor, it has to do with construction material, if that's, if that helps you remember.
Yep.
And then once you know that, you need to make sure that one,
You know the details of your home, the square footage, the building material, is it a slab foundation or a crawl space? All of those things matter, right?
absolutely. Yep. And then
And
number
number two,
two, check your policy, right? Whether
yep,
you're buying a new policy through closing, or you are renewing your policy that you had with your agent for a while. Either way, we encourage you to always look through your policy and making sure that all the specs that are listed on your policy reflects the details of your home that you have today.
you got it. And finally, best practice number three, check with the experts. If you don't know what the cost per square foot should be or would be to rebuild your home, talk with a general contractor, talk with a builder, someone who's doing this currently. Don't trust me because I'm not a builder. I'm an
No,
agent. I
ma'am.
can talk to you about that coverage A amount, but really you use the experts. And if you don't know someone, then maybe check with your agent because they can guide you to a good resource, a good vendor.
Absolutely. And when you check your renewal and you don't think you have enough to rebuild your home, as always, we recommend reach out to your
Call your
agent,
agent.
do that policy review, right? And if you don't have an awesome agent that can help you with a policy review, then you can call Christy or you can call me. We're always happy to help.
So that's a good point to say. So long for this week.
Until next time, we'll see ya.
Bye bye.